Hey, what's going on, guys? So today I'm going to be installing my Ryzen 9 5900X into my primary machine, which I use for recording YouTube. And then after it's done, I'll go over the specs, exactly what I use, how I edit, and all that great stuff if you're starting YouTube. And this is my journey. So let's begin. So it is a lot of work. I just powered it down, and because I don't have my primary recording machine now, so I actually have to use my iPhone. So this is what I'm gonna do: start unplugging everything, making sure that everything's still gonna be intact as soon as I plug everything back, because I want to make sure that everything's gonna be working the same way I left it. Now, one of the first things I need to do is unscrew the two brackets, but of course you can only see one side of it. So what's going on this side? So what we have to do is actually remove this fan in order to get access to the two screws. So that's why it's a little more involved, and I actually have to take everything out in order to get to this point, opposed to just having it sit there and me trying to swap out a CPU. Best way of doing all this is to make sure you have everything unplugged and there's no, like, all of a sudden there's power going to it. Of course, you know, sometimes I forget to turn off the PSU. The fan is pretty simple. All you gotta do is just clip onto the side of it, and then it comes right out. So you can see all that great stuff. Just make sure you don't kind of mess up the fins if you have a cooler like this. You can see it's pretty dirty. So what I like to always use is baby wipes. I used to have a lot of baby accessories. Well, I still have a lot of baby stuff. My kids are no longer babies, so great way, because they're not highly chemicaled, and it's basically like little dab of alcohol, really faint, and it's the best way to clean stuff. But it does leak streaks on monitors, so I don't suggest that. So I'm just cleaning the fins right now, the grill, whatever you want to call it. You can actually see that there's a lot of dust buildup. It's been a few years now, actually. Been a few years. So now you can actually see two screws. So there's a total of 4. We're gonna pop this out. One thing you don't want to do when you're putting these back on is over stressing the screws, where you put too much torque on one side or on all sides, because you could risk cracking the screws that mount onto this, and it'll be a pain to replace, because these are not really that easily to remove as far as off the CPU mount. You kind of know when to stop as soon as the tension on the spring, and I'll show you guys in a little bit, you feel some slight resistance when you're screwing it in. And when you actually unscrew it, you should really divide the pressure, because just imagine 4 screws being screwed in and you release all the pressure on one side, it just builds up too much tension on the other 3. So now I feel like just making sure that I have it all the way off. And we are going to be removing the CPU, so I think that's all the way good. Feel some pressure because of the... Ooh. This is actually not good. This is not good. So what happened was, when I pulled this off, right, I couldn't reach the lever. There's a lever here. So, but when I pulled it off, it actually came off even without the lever coming up, which is kind of interesting. Now I'm just inspecting for bad pins, which looks okay, but I believe the reason why is because it's really on there. It's really on there with the, it's tight. It's really on there with the thermal paste. And that's probably the reason why it came off so easily. I mean, yeah. I'm just putting a little resistance here. Little resistance. I do feel it turning, so I am going to remove it off the CPU. There it goes. There it goes. Alright, there it goes. It's a decent amount. I was pretty generous with this one. So, one thing you want to do before you put this away is to make sure you clean that off. Alright? So this is a Ryzen 7 3600X. I'm going to be replacing this with a Ryzen 9 5900X. Alright, and we're just going to use some spray alcohol that I have in a bottle, that I'm going to spray this and start wiping it down. Now, you don't want anything that has any type of little fibers. You want like a like a maybe like an old t-shirt or some rags that doesn't lose any type of lint onto this. You just don't want any lint build up between the pins or anything like that. All right, here it is. So I felt like I did a pretty good job as far as cleaning it off, getting most, if not all, the thermal paste. You kind of have to like get to the size of this, and you see my fingers are still getting coated with some thermal paste. So that means there's still some residue left, but for the most part, a good amount of it is off. So here we go. Right now, you could probably get a better view of what this is. It's a Ryzen 7 3700X. All right, so now that's the CPU that we're going to be replacing. So we really don't need it now. We're just going to set it aside, and we're going to put it back into the box that the new CPU came. So this is the cooler that we have right now, and I'm going to just do the same thing. I'm going to wipe off the old thermal paste. I really don't want to use old thermal paste in case not all thermal paste is going to be this wet when you remove it, because I probably put so much that it didn't even take its time to dry yet, meaning it does take a good amount of years of constant use, CPU overdrawn in power in order for the thermal paste to really dry out through time. As you can see, it's cleaned up pretty well. All right, we'll just make sure that everything is good. You see a little like kind of damp residue. What I'm gonna do is spray some rubbing alcohol on it, and it's just a mist, just a slight mist. Have it on there right now, and I'm gonna get a dry cloth, and because it's just the cooler side, it doesn't really matter. I mean, but you don't want to damage the fins. But you can see that it's dried up, and because of the alcohol really dries up the surface really well, and it's really clean right now. All right, so let's get over here to the Ryzen 9 processor. Now I'm going to cut this open so we can get access to it. So here I'm just going to take some extra care of slicing this open. You got this big box for this little CPU that's in here. So you got all this paper and plastic. Look at this. It's empty. It's empty. And all you're worried about is this little guy, which is all the way off to the side, which doesn't make sense to me. Guys, tell me this. I mean, explain this to me. You got all this packaging that you would think was to protect the CPU, but the CPU is just hanging off to the side, displaying itself. Like if the box was dropped or damaged on this side of the box, it's pretty much screwed. I mean, it's not that protective, so I don't understand why this packaging is required. I probably would have came up with a better design than that. But anyway, so we're gonna take this, and of course I'm gonna angle it down now, right here. And I have the lever up now. I'm just gonna make sure the mounting screws for the fan is still hand tight. I'm not overdoing it. So we're gonna open this up. So we got a new fresh CPU right now. Please take note of the gold corner. It's only one gold corner out of the 4. And that's gonna match up where if you look at the motherboard close enough, there's an arrow on one of the corners, and the other 4 corners are just nothing there. There's like a little triangle. So that basically indicates how it should be placed, and it's situated in there now. All right, so now one thing I want to do is not leave, because I've been touching it with my hands. I didn't wear gloves. I will get a little rag with some alcohol on it and wipe it dry. So this is the thermal paste I'm using, expensive, and I'll be opening this up and putting probably like, and I'll show you guys like a couple like little pea size, like a number 5 on a dice. All right guys, so this is the little rag that I have. I'm just gonna spray it away from the machine, which is a little dab of alcohol. You can kind of see it moist there. I'm gonna put the lever down now and just wipe that clean. Wipe off all the grease that I had from my hands onto this, right? So clean, clean, clean. So what am I doing now? Now, what I want to do is grab the dermal paste that I opened, which is right here. This is very debatable, and everyone gets a little finicky about the way they do things, which is fine, and I'll show you how I like doing it. So what I basically did was, I made like a 5 dot, but because of the way dermal paste works, I still have, I love this one because it actually tells you how much you have left. And I do so much hardware swap that I always need dermal paste, and it kind of sucks when you don't have the dermal paste when you're actually, you know, doing CPU swaps, and then all of a sudden you have to make a run to the store. But anyway, I put the middle, and then I kind of just go over to the, you know, right, down, left, up again. But because you're dragging it around, it's still like, you know, like it has residue that's gonna leave. It's not gonna leave a perfect dot where you want it to. So, so once you do that, you kind of want to put the CPU fan as soon as you can because you don't want any more dust settling on that. So here we're gonna take this, right? We're just gonna place it down. We're gonna try our best to line it up right away so you kind of don't have to like keep on smudging it around, and set it on top of the screws, which it is right now. And what I'm gonna do is start screwing it in. And again, I am not screwing it one side, one screw all the way in first. What I am doing is making sure it catches, get a few threads, and then circle around. And clockwise, go clockwise, counterclockwise, whatever you want. Just make sure you kind of get it threaded in first. And then you can start screwing it into its hand tight where you feel some resistance from the spring that's on the CPU cooler. Now, of course, it really depends on what kind of cooler you have. Everyone uses a different cooler, so they may not all have spring-loaded tension on it. All right, so I feel some resistance kickback on that one. All right, so one of the key things you want to do is make sure you take back your old CPU, whether you want to sell it or not. Place it back into the packaging that came with the one that you just replaced it with. That way it's protected in case you don't have anything to protect it. You don't want to really lie, you know, CPUs around naked without any kind of protection. Next thing you want to do, since we have it all open right now, is let's do this. Let's back it up a little bit. I see some dust on the GPU. I should have probably did all this prior to putting on the new CPU, but then I realized that, oh, I didn't do it. And I should have done, I didn't want to do it while the CPU was on there because then I'll just create more dust, and we didn't want that either. So I'm just getting certain areas. You can see there's some dust here. The fan probably needs a good wipe, which it does. Building machines, putting machines together, definitely fun, great hobby to have, but very expensive. So this is the fan that belongs to the CPU cooler. You see that? You can see all that dust. This is the RGB, so it does light up. I'm just trying to get the best that I can. This fan has a little more blades than normal fans, so a little harder to get your finger in there unless you, I mean, you can, it's just more tedious, more fragile. The plastic seems a little more harder, but I am getting each blade, wipe off that dust, just to give you an idea of what kind of maintenance you should do if you're doing swaps or upgrades. I've seen some PCs where the fans build up so much, it's like, it looks really disgusting in my opinion. And I don't know how people do it, but I've gotten machines from other people who like, oh, my machine is overheating. Well, there's a reason for that. There is a real reason for all that. All right, so now I have the fan. I'm gonna just place it back down. So the fan actually, the cooler actually has indents for the clip. It doesn't clip or anything. It kind of just slides in and you can feel it. All right, so you can see right here. It's just I put in one side and I just kind of eased in the other side. So there it is. It's in. These are the controllers. You see, like these are just controllers. This is the plug for the fan, which is fine. This, I don't know if you guys can actually see it right here. This is actually the controller for the RGB fan that's on the CPU, which is pretty cool. That's why I bought it. It's a Cooler Master. I did do a video on it in the past. Great cooler. It was like $20. I think it's still $20 to be honest. So guys, that's it. Right now we finished putting it all together. I mean, we didn't build the entire machine, but it's not that difficult. Usually I do CPU swaps are pretty frequent for me. And that's it. Let's put everything back in and make sure it works. All right guys, so I just want to confirm, if you see on the top right corner up there, it's actually says Ryzen 9 5900X 12 core, so we are good. So I went into the BIOS settings just to make sure after I plugged everything back in, everything is lit up. So, and I know it's fresh and clean because like the glass, it looks like there's nothing there, right? But the glass is there. So let's go out of this. We're not going to overclock it or anything like that. I'm just leaving it default. And there we go, guys. Hey everyone, and that's pretty much it. I just want to thank you guys for staying here with me. This is actually logged back into the Windows machine. Now for Windows 11, it's a little different. I had a pin set up because it detected that there was a significant hardware change. It asked for me to validate myself again, because obviously if you're tampering, or someone tried to tamper with your machine, someone stole your hard drive and then replaced it with another one and tried to read it, blah, 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 CPU, anything significant. It didn't do that for the memory, but the CPU was pretty big, right? So because it detected some, I don't know, actually the TPM, I don't know how it detects that the CPU was changed, but Microsoft, the operating system, detected that the CPU was changed and it required me to change my password. So here it is, 12 core, the Ryzen 9 5900X. I thought it was a great deal. I picked it up for $239, I believe, and at Micro Center, and I think it's a great upgrade, especially if you're doing like video editing. So hopefully this video has helped you decide on that, because this is what I'm actually using. I have 64 gigs of RAM. Hard drive, I'm running an NVMe 1 terabyte, but then I'm also using a storage of a 6 terabyte drive just to dump files in there. And these are mechanical drives, so it's a little slower access, but the primary applications would be installed on your NVMe, including the operating system. So that's where, you know, when at boot time and when you're loading applications, it just happens right away. But when you're retrieving bigger files like videos, it may take a little bit, and you can actually hear the hard drive crackling a little bit, trying to do its thing. But overall, I'm really satisfied. And again, this is what it's currently looking like, right? So it's only utilizing the top 6 CPU cores, and all the other ones are pretty idle. I'm going to launch DaVinci right now, which is more CPU intense, but I'm just launching it. I'm not actually editing. So let's just take a quick look in regards. You can see the processors are actually starting to you know, do its thing. I'm going to open up my latest that I still need to edit. You can see it right there. Let's do this. So you can see, like, you see the spikes. It's pretty awesome, right? And I had a little blip. The reason why I'm changing CPUs is because with the Ryzen 7 3700X, I was getting a very slow response when I'm doing my edits. And you can see right now, like, even though I'm navigating around, I will hear like really messed up audio and things like that. So again, I packed back up the CPU, which is here, and I'm actually going to get ready to sell it. If anything, I really don't need an extra one. So if you guys are interested in the Ryzen 7 3700X, please hit me up if you're interested for sure. I could definitely send this entire box to you if you guys are interested in purchasing that. Email me, let me know if you are. I could definitely give you a good deal on that. All right. Thank you guys for being here, and please hit me up, subscribe, comment, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. Take care.